Hello and welcome to the Digital Radio Smashin Show. This is amazing.
Oh my god.
I just found the perfect intro. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm trying to understand how.
What it is?
Well, how did you even? Somebody
just
just fell out of the sky on fire. I'm trying to understand how you even where did you find this? Like, did you just random click on YouTube?
No, let's just say my interests is that I don't know people that I enjoy following on Twitter and stuff decide to have these kinds of interests.
Oh my god, it's fantastic.
And
it's one of those fantastically random things that you start.
And I just reap the fortunes off it. It's amazing, and I hope that music is not copyrighted to some extent.
Well, I mean, we were just watching it, so it's
Yeah.
not a huge deal. But that's
good.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's pretty hilarious.
Isn't it?
It's
so Japanese too. Because actually, it kind of
guns,
you know what?
Guns freaks me out.
So I'm gonna actually send a link into the YouTube version of this I sent,
for sure.
so that people can check this out because it doesn't tie into anything, but it makes me it allows me to talk about a video game that I love and adore from Japan.
Wait, is it actually from a video game?
No, this isn't from a video game, but this is the same atmosphere and tone of that game. Danganronpa.
Yeah, I remember.
From PlayStation Vita. Actually, even the artwork, it's a little less stylized, but Danganronpa is far more stylized. And
for sure. Yeah. Well, Danganronpa also, it has a lot of recurring themes. There's some essential themes that recur.
So if any of you have ever heard, you certainly heard of the term now, Battle Royale, because of what Hunger Games kind of brought to it.
Then you should.
You should watch Battle Royale. If you haven't seen Hunger Games and you haven't seen Battle Royale, watch Battle Royale. Nobody gives a fuck about Hunger Games to that extent. Because it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't do anything new. Hunger Games is so much better. And I just want to tell everyone...
Hunger Games is better.
No. Battle Royale is better.
You just said that the Hunger Games is better.
Okay,
I was going to say, I was like, dude, whoa.
For everyone that now has a Vita, and I can actually talk about Danganronpa because it's contemporary again, because they just brought it out on Steam, on PC. It came out on PC. Cool. Yeah, so you could play it if you don't want to, play it on Vita, which you don't have. I have my Vita. So everyone play Danganronpa. I believe Danganronpa 2 is coming out really soon as well on Steam. And the third of the main franchises coming out. It's already out in Japan, and they're translating it right now for the West. Because I think in between Danganronpa 2 and Danganronpa 3 now being translated, they brought out a kind of an offshoot, and it takes place before the first Danganronpa.
Oh, that's
And
good.
it's about how these children, and they were actually middle schoolers, took over the world. Yeah.
Wait, they take over the world?
Yeah, they take over the world by mechanizing a bunch of killer robot pandas.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, and instead of there just being one, I remember I showed you once or twice cutscenes from because it's so ridiculous, and I just had to show you and be like, look, this exists. It's a killer panda telling them to kill each other or they can't get out of the school.
Well, and it's not really quite a panda. He is a panda, but
he's a panda.
Is he supposed to be a panda?
Well, yeah, he's supposed to be a panda, but he's a robot
are
panda.
Very un-panda-like.
Well,
he's
black, he's white.
He's
He's a panda, but he's got this awesome scar.
Laser eye?
Yeah, he's got this.
Thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's no laser coming out of it, I believe, ever.
But his eye is red.
But his eye it's a Harry Potter. You remember? It's a Harry Potter lightning. That is his eye.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. This is okay. So for those of you, I'm not a big video game.
Oh, just look up any short video of the Danganronpa, and you'll be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. So I've seen bits and pieces as Alexei's been playing it. But it's interesting, and it totally ties into the whole battle royale thing.
And I saw an interview from the creative developer or the creative writer of the Danganronpa series, and he was saying, it's actually supposed to be a mix of Lord of the Flies and Battle Royale. and
Which
bring that
see.
into a school atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
Which I totally see, because Battle Royale is full on like kid on kid murder.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, it's psychotic. It's messed up. Like, you watch this movie and I mean, there's a little bit of you relating to the characters, but essentially you're watching this going, oh my god.
And it has probably one of the most memorable starting
opening sequences,
violent sequences, because it's a middle schooler that's being brought out of the arena, and she just has this glimmer of a smile on her that's like, and
she's messed up, and you can tell,
and you have no idea what that yet
means.
Whereas
with Danganronpa, I like it because it's more of
mystery.
The kids get dropped into this mystery, this mysterious school. Like, where are they? Why are they there? And what's going on? And then there's like a murder, so it's kind of got this murder mystery thing.
And every single room has a different theme to it.
Yeah, so it's more along, like, I can totally see where they tie in the Lord of the Flies thing, because it's a little bit more psychological warfare than it is flat out going after each other and murdering each other.
Yeah,
you know
and there are some aesthetic choices that they make in Danganronpa that they want it to be more absurd than it is real, and yet in some ways it is grounded. So, for example, blood in Danganronpa is pink. So there's no red blood. It's all pink blood. But it's everywhere. I mean, you know, when a murder happens, it's everywhere. And so you're like, oh my god, that's supposed to be red.
It's interesting that they do that, you know what I mean? Like, because in a sense, they're trying to, it's almost like they're trying to desensitize you towards the murder and towards the actual act of killing. But on the other hand, it's everywhere. Like, they're not beating around the bush about it. If somebody dies, it's bloody. You know
and also, and so every time you get to know everybody and you can build relationships and you can even start dating one character at a time, and so you won't know who's going to die next. So you might build up a rapport with somebody who's just about to die, and then you're like, God damn it, I wasted all my time with this person. Right? So in those ways, like, it's so realistic, because your friendship can just disappear like that, and I love that.
I think in reality, though, you wouldn't be, if your friend died, you wouldn't be like, oh my god, what a freaking waste of time.
No, but I'm just saying, I mean,
more upset.
Yeah,
totally, I get what you're saying, and it makes total sense for them to do that, to make it more realistic, to make it more relatable, where you get to know somebody and then poof, that person's gone, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna start now, and we're gonna veer towards movies, because we just saw two of probably my favorite movies of 2016. I can already say that, because I'm not really big on superhero movies, and I love when new series come out and they do something different.
Yeah, I would have to say these last two are probably my favorite, or at least my most standout horror movies of the last 5 years.
We've actually, strangely enough, we've had two really good years. It Follows came out last year with Babadook.
Right.
So we had Babadook and It Follows last year, and then we have The Witch and 10 Cloverfield Lane from this year already. It's pretty impressive.
It is, yeah. I think the problem is with It Follows and Babadook is that nobody heard about it. Like,
yeah.
Like, unless
The Witch, and it's so lucky how The Witch actually got some recognition. They picked it up from Toronto International Film Festival, and they weren't going to do any. I think it's been out for a year. It's been a thing. It's been fully polished for a year, and then they said, okay, we're bringing it out now. It could have not come out. They could have decided not to bring it out because they thought not enough.
Which would have been such a shame. Because I mean,
we still would have. I would have tracked it down somehow.
We're so hard pressed to find really good, and when I say A-list, I mean like movies that have gotten a lot of funding and a lot of marketing and people have heard about before they actually hit the theaters, right? So we're so,
let alone they hit the theaters.
We've been so, I feel like
Babadook didn't hit the theaters,
unlucky, really. Yeah. Seriously, we've been so unlucky, especially when it comes to the horror genre. We haven't had a lot of standout movies come out. Movies that are genuinely, you can say from beginning to end, it falls within the horror genre. Because lately, I would say in the last 10 years or so, horror movies tend to either veer off into teenage romance or into action, like silly action. So like we haven't had a lot of movies come out that really, really are horror movies. So we've been really lucky with getting to see The Witch and 10 Cloverfield Lane.
So we'll first talk about The Witch, because it's been quite a while for us since we saw. I think it's almost a month ago.
But it's one of those movies that once you see it, it's ingrained in your skull. Yeah. It does not leave you, and it's a lot of people are saying that it's like it's similar to The Shining.
It's The Shining set in
the woods kind of a thing, which I get what they're saying with that, where it's that same kind of like cabin fever, like you go insane.
And instead of one man going insane, it's the entire family.
And it's so freaking good. Like it's just so, it's smart. It's well thought out. It's well acted, like amazingly well acted.
And it almost it does, and to a certain extent, it subverts what the horror genre is, because it leaves it up to the imagination in the strictest sense possible. Because when somebody, we won't say who, when somebody gets caught, the first person of the family to get caught, you don't exactly see what that person is doing to him.
You have no idea what's going on. Like, and I mean,
but you see something being done disgustingly to that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's funny because a lot of people are saying it's The Shining meets the Blair Witch Project, which I can understand. I've read some reviews saying that it's the Blair Witch Project meets The Shining. I understand what they're saying in the sense that it is set in the woods.
And it's set actually in the same. It's in the same woods, but so far apart.
Yeah, it's in Virginia, right? But like back then, Virginia the woods were humongous. Now a lot of it is cropped down because of the population has grown, right? So like, it's. To me, I understand why they're drawing that parallel, but at the same time, I'm like, you really shouldn't.
In a way, it's better that they draw a comparison between Blair Witch and not some other shitty found footage movie.
True.
At least it's the cream of the crop of found footage.
Yeah, I mean, the Blair Witch Project to me is really the only good found footage.
I found Cloverfield quite impressive.
Oh, the original Cloverfield. Yeah, but you know what's funny about that is
and the first Paranormal Activity.
Cloverfield, I don't consider a found footage movie. I know that it technically is.
It entirely is, though.
But for some reason, it doesn't feel like one. Like when you're watching it, it doesn't necessarily.
You should when's the last time you saw it?
I don't know, ages ago.
Dude, I watched it 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's so freaking wobbly, and you'll be amazed.
I'm not saying that it's not wobbly. I'm just saying that
like it feels like a person is holding it, though.
Well, yeah, but there's such a clear, concise storyline, whereas a found footage movie like the Blair Witch Project is literally, it's a moment in time, and it's a fraction of these people. Well, no, but really, if you rewatch the Blair Witch Project, which I have, just last night I rewatched it because I knew we would be talking about the witch today. It's 3 days, pretty much, 3 or 4 days that these people are stuck in the woods and didn't intend to get stuck in the woods. You never see the witch. You never really see what's going on.
You don't even know if it's a witch.
You don't. You don't even really know if it's a witch or if it's a ghost or if it's locals that are messing with their heads, kind of a thing, right? It's all just them walking through the woods and them losing their minds. They all start to like fall apart towards the end because they're hungry and they're tired and they've been in the woods for I don't know how long.
Something is happening.
Disoriented. So well, you don't know.
Well,
they could just be completely out of it.
I clearly remember you seeing a sight of people of some things.
The only time that there's a definite interaction is when like they leave rocks outside the tent and you can hear voices outside the tent.
No, you don't remember when something is fucking going into their tent? Dude. Yeah, don't worry. Going into their tent and touching them through the tent.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's an interaction.
But again, when they get out of the tent, there's no one there.
Yeah. They hear things.
Voices.
Yeah, they hear shit.
Yeah, but is it a shared delusion or is it real?
Yeah.
Because it could be a shared delusion. It could be that they're both just going out of their minds, and one person saying that they felt something makes the other person think that they're feeling something too. It happens, right? And the difference with that and the witch is that something is most definitely going on.
Yeah, you feel
something is most definitely going on because, like, from the beginning, and this is not a spoiler because you can see this in the trailer. From the very beginning, the baby goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell took the baby, or what took the baby?
Yeah.
Right? So it's not.
But even I read the New York Times review of The Witch by Anthony Lane, and he was saying that it's filmed in such a way that even when you see this hooded figure who has the baby in its hand. He thought that it was filmed in such a way that you don't know if that actually happened, or if he's saying, look, did this happen, or is this what they think happened to the baby?
Mm-hmm. Which is an interesting thing to touch upon in a movie like that, because essentially what I found about The Witch is that it's a horror movie, but it's also a period piece in a really, really extraordinary
Which
way.
is what the director said it was. It's 50-50, if not 60-40. Yeah.
It's so accurate from the clothes. Like, the clothes are piece by piece, like what people would have worn back then. Even their house is totally set up the way that, with, even the animals coming in and out of the house kind of a thing, The
relationship in the family.
The relationship between the family
How
is
conservative
and yet very close.
They're very
tight-knit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
when you see the way that the dad interacts with the oldest daughter, and how there's there's no secrets between them, and part of it is
there are.
Well, but there's not supposed to be. And there's a lot of guilt in between the characters because of those little tiny little secrets.
Yeah,
and
the
tiny
boy who's finding attraction to his sister because
well, because there's nobody else around. The poor kid, the only female. The only female counterpart to him is his older sister who's going through puberty. So you can hardly blame the kid.
No, you can't blame it at all. But it's like, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it totally sucks. Yeah. And his realization of what's happening in his body and him trying to come to terms with it.
Oh
and
yeah.
The guilt.
And there's no way of him coming to terms because his dad is so dissuading of the matter.
And he can't talk about it.
Exactly.
He can't talk about it with his dad because
with anybody.
Basically, with anybody, but his dad specifically, because their dad is not just their dad, he's also their provider, he's also their priest.
Yeah, pretty much.
He is, at the top of the hierarchy within their teeny tiny small community. Because they're more than just a family, they're a society, like they're a community onto their own. Yeah. So it's really interesting to watch the dynamics, also to watch the dynamics between the kids, where you assume that the oldest sibling would have the authority over the younger ones and be in charge of them.
But they don't.
The older sister does kind of have that authority, but
only in front of the parents.
Only in front of the parents, but also when the brother's there, even though he's technically younger than her, he's a boy. So if he tells the little kids to do something, they have to listen to him over her. Okay, and so also
there's also one little part where the boy wants to go into the wood to do something. And he tells his sister not to come with, but his sister is able to persuade him to have her come with. And so it is where he thinks he has the power, but no, she can tell him off.
Well, it's not necessarily that she tells him off. It's more that she's the older sibling, and they're the two older ones. You know what I mean? They're the two that grew up together, and there's two younger kids, but
who are so amazing in this movie.
Oh man, those kids
I can't believe the performances they give.
Oh,
it really is impressive because what they're doing is they're not just making it feel like they're getting the moments right, but they're doing it in the language in this very Shakespearean old language, which is, oh my god, it seems impossible to do.
It's Old English, right? And keep in mind, for those of you that haven't seen the movie yet, these kids, I would put them at maybe 4 or 5 years old.
That's insane.
4 or 5 years old, and these kids are, well, not necessarily the little boy, like he only has 1 or 2 lines, but the little girl.
Oh yeah, she's really good.
She is brilliant. Like,
but you don't think she could be 7 or 8?
No, she's little. She's little.
Wow,
I would say 5 or 6.
I should look
6
up her
tops.
IMDb. Yeah.
Really.
I'm actually interested. You keep talking.
This kid is. I mean, where did they even find a kid like that? She's adorable.
Actually, I have a little information about how the casting process went.
Okay.
Somebody, I think it was Mark Ellis, he's a famous movie critic.
Yeah.
And he asked the director, he's like, how did you find these actors who were able to kind of commit to this language? And he said, well, we had, for all the characters, we had, audition and audition and audition and audition. And he said the moment one of the actors weren't able to audition in that language, I didn't see them again. So the only people that remained were the people who were able to perform with that language. So it's so crazy.
And that's smart. That's so smart to do it that way, because the language and the way that this was performed to the audience, the language is just such an important part. It's like a character in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was a period piece, like it is a period piece, so it's so important that the language be correct and the language be accurate to what it would have been at that time period. You know, and it's so great because there are so few period pieces where they do that. Like if you rewatch, I don't know, old period pieces like King Henry V or Elizabeth, even the one with Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
They use modern English, and I mean it's slightly. I mean, you know, they defer slightly to the way they would have said things back then, but essentially it's modern English, right? I mean, it's still the Queen's English, but you know, they don't do that. And if they had, oh my God, imagine what, like, it's almost like this movie set a new standard for period pieces, but also for horror movies, I find, because it was genuinely scary without letting on a lot. Like, you barely know what's going on.
I would say you have to go in with the expectation that you're not getting any horror movie like that you've seen before. It's slow, it's thoughtful, you have to really listen to the language. A lot of it is whispering. Like, there's so much whispering that goes on in this movie. You have to really listen clearly. So come into this movie with a, you know, maybe drink a coffee. Just be very attentive of what's happening.
Yeah, you know how they said, like, there's a lot of advertisement going on, but one of the advertisements I remember saying, I forget who wrote this, but
you
they
feel
said,
like you're watching something you shouldn't be seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is kind of true. You need to go in it, in watching this movie, you need to go into it as an observer.
Yeah.
You're observing something, you don't know what it is, could be anything.
It doesn't ask you to relate to it. In a way that other movies do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in a way that's so smart because you can't possibly relate to people who lived 200 years ago.
Yeah. There's not a character like Indiana Jones that you want to be like in this movie.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Like, none of these characters, you're going to look at them and be like, oh, I get it. If I were like this, then I would do that. But no, it's not like that at all. It's more of a, you know, this awful thing is happening to this family. Yeah. And you want to watch it and try and figure out what's going on. You don't want to watch it and go, oh, well, this doesn't make sense. This character was completely unrealistic. No. They're very realistic for that time period. Yeah. And keep that in mind, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, unlike 10 Cloverfield Lane, which does have you relate to character.
Yeah. 10 Cloverfield Lane was... Like I said before, when we first saw it, it's a dark.
First, want to say, don't worry, it's not a found footage like the first movie. It's entirely different.
It's entirely different.
He calls it J.J. Abrams, who I believe he produced or either wrote the first one. He said this is more like a blood brother to the first movie. It's not even. It didn't even seem like. From my point of view, it didn't even seem like it was the same universe.
Didn't even exactly. You're watching it, and it did not feel like it was within the same realm. Like
maybe two slight mentions to what happened.
Yeah, and
doesn't matter even.
But that was what was great about it. Like that was partially what was great about it. For those people who have seen Cloverfield, you're gonna watch it and think like, but all this stuff is supposed to be going on outside of this bunker. Don't worry about it. Just watch this as it is and take it in because. In the end, it does all tie together, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised because...
So the main character, I believe, is played by Mary Elizabeth Ward, and she's a young woman who's... The sequence starts off, and it's just music overplaying her decisions to leave her husband or her fiance, and just leave the entire thing.
You don't really know what's going on.
You have no idea because the music keeps playing, so you're just thinking, like, what the hell happened? And then she gets caught up in an accident. Then she wakes up in a bunker, and this man has saved her. Played by John Freeman.
Well, saved
John Freeman? Is it John Freeman?
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but he played Fred Flintstone back in the...
Fred Flintstone saves her.
Back in the
but he's a disturbed
Fred
Flintstone.
Flintstone. Yeah. So this girl, and I mean, like, she's so great, first of all. Can we just say that she's a really good actress and that...
The movie ended and I was like, we have our own Ripley.
Yeah, we've got our new... This is our generation's Ripley, and it really... This is why anybody who loves horror and who loves science fiction or even who loves drama and mystery, you should see this movie because it's got a little bit of everything. And this girl is so good because she's just a great introduction into the world.
Yeah.
She wakes up in a bunker and this guy is he's telling her. So imagine this, girls. You wake up in a bunker tied up to the wall. By
her leg, which is broken.
It's broken or hurt somehow, right? She can't really, whatever. She needs crutches. she's tied up by the, like, he's put this, like, cast type
Not
thing
even on a
around
bed,
her,
it's just a...
and it's a mattress
yeah, just
on
a
the
mattress.
floor.
Ugh.
And she's tied up to the wall with her cast, so she can't really move anywhere. And this guy comes in and tells her that he saved her life, that he pulled her out of a car wreck, and now she's in his bunker, and she's safe as long as she stays there, and she should be grateful to him. Like, and this is how he relays this information to her.
And you're already very skeptical of him because he doesn't give an introduction. He just gives her a certain amount of information, and you're so unclear about what's going on and who he is and how he fits into this. And he's got a gun. Like, the first thing you see, the first shot you see is his gun, and then you see a picture of him. Like, the camera turns to him. So you're already as a viewer, you're already supposed to be skeptical of who this guy is.
Yeah, because you're on her side, right? Like, you're following her and her story, and it's really well done. The characters are introduced in a very smart way, and in a way that makes sense for that character. Like,
there's this over encompassing nuance that delivers in the movie. It just stays with it. It's very well done. Yeah,
and throughout the whole movie, like, you're still trying to figure out, as she is, whether or not this crisis, this whole disaster that supposedly took place outside the bunker, whether that's really real.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to figure it out alongside with her. For those people who have seen Cloverfield, you assume that, yes, it is true, but nonetheless, this guy who's got her in a bunker, there's something not quite right about him, right? Like, nonetheless, whether or not you believe the whole thing outside is real or not, if you think that's true, that's great, and supposedly you should be safe in the bunker, but this guy, there's something not quite right, and it freaks you out, and you safer inside or outside?
And it's also important to note that there are three characters in the bunker. It's her, it's a young man who helped build the bunker with the guy, and John Friedman himself. And there's the way they sync up and their relationship, how it veers off into different ways. You follow it, and the climax is exceptional of the movie.
The
last 15 or 10 minutes, I don't know, but oh my god.
I would say it's the last 15 minutes of the movie.
You get everything you wanted. Everything you wanted.
And the thing is, you don't see it coming.
No,
because
you don't.
Spent the whole movie trying to figure out whether or not this or that is real, and who's right and who's wrong, and is she really safe, and is she going to get out, and all this stuff is happening, so that when finally those last 15 minutes of the movie hit, you're like, oh, holy what?
Delivers. I mean, the way it delivered for those last 10 minutes, that changed my mind into thinking this is one of the great movies of 2016 because of those last 10 minutes.
And her character arc totally makes sense. Then at the end, you think, oh my god, that totally, I can see it.
That works.
I can see how she had to go through all that stuff to be tough and to get to this point, right? And it works so well, and it leaves you on a teeny tiny little, like, I don't want to say cliffhanger, but like a hope that there could be another sequel.
Possibility.
There's a possibility for it, and they leave it open, and it's in a really great way, because you leave the movie so happy and so satisfied.
It was.
It's fantastic.
It was. That's what it was, really. The satisfaction I had when the movie ended was just
and for those of you that are like hardcore horror movie lovers, there are moments that make you jump, but in an unexpected way. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say, is like you don't see it coming
not
at all.
Yeah.
And it's very good. It's very, very good.
I want to now turn to comics, because I've been reading probably I read my favorite Superman issues, probably.
Oh yeah.
So Max Landis, who directed, he wrote Chronicle, he wrote Victor Frankenstein, which came out this year. He wrote American Ultra as well, and he's busy writing a movie about fairies and all these other magical creatures with David Ayer, who directed The End of Watch. and then on top of that, he's show running some stuff.
Yeah.
So
in case you haven't noticed, we're fans of Max Landis.
I really enjoy him. I just love that there are personalities like that in the writing room, you know, and he's on YouTube, so you can find him.
And then I love that he doesn't relinquish, like he does his own thing, and if that doesn't work, then all right, well he's on to the next. And I love that about him.
Yeah, and he was able to write comics. Yes. Actually, I showed you. There's a YouTube video which he called it. Regarding Clark.
Yes.
And you saw that.
Yes.
So it's from that YouTube video. He talked about the character of Clark and how he understood the character. After that, or I think a year after, Marvel contacted him. Or is it DC? DC as Superman. DC contacted him and said, "Okay, you can write 7 issues or something." And he talked about what he wanted to write about, how he wanted to do it. And what he's done is 7 issues of 7 extremely different parts of his life. And he just gives you, I think they're about 20 pages each. And the first is when he's really young and he's learning to fly. The second one is when he kind of has a girlfriend and he kind of, first time he meets violence, really. And what's really cool about it is that each and every issue is drawn by an entirily different artists.
Oh, that's cool. See,
so Clark looks so different every time. And I won't give you any spoilers.
Oh, but that's okay. I'm not too like.
I don't want to give
I'm
any.
more of the like I read comic books for the visual of it. Like I think comic books are an extraordinary art form that is not so much anymore, but it used to be really underestimated.
The third issue is probably my favorite because he ends up on a yacht owned by Bruce Wayne. And everyone thinks because Bruce Wayne is never there, he's never there, right? He's always training. Yeah. And they think Clark is Bruce.
Oh my god.
Yes,
that's great.
That's all I'll say. And in the issue, somebody is coming after Bruce.
Oh no.
But it's Clark.
Oh no.
That's all I'll say.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love that idea only because when you think about it, somebody who's an enemy of Bruce Wayne and Batman, right?
Yeah.
And even if they don't know that he is Batman, they're going equipped to fight Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And they end up fighting a freaking god.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Superman.
Okay, and that's the other thing. He doesn't seem like he's a god. His powers are unclear. In the second issue, let me just say, he bleeds. He bleeds from something that isn't a special weapon.
Interesting.
A gunshot wound makes him bleed.
Huh.
Okay? And Landis said that's what he wanted to do. Everyone makes Superman these days and in the 90s powerful, all being a god. But he wanted to show what kind of human he is. And he wanted to humanify him. Just made that up. Why not? Humanify. I'm rolling with it. I made it up. Right, cool. You know, I forget who said it. They said, language, we made that shit up. Change it. Do whatever you want to it. So he humanified him really well. And that's what he keeps doing. It's really about the human Clark, who is a Superman instead of Superman. Because essentially,
when you think about it, it's so true. And I mean, this is something that Max Landis said in his About Clark.
Regarding Clark, it's called.
Regarding Clark. And this is what I love about Max Landis is he's got such a great, well-rounded understanding of this one character. And, you have to give the guy props for putting so much time into understanding one single person as if he is a real life person, which I'm sure to Max Landis he is a real person.
All the characters are real to him.
But what I like about that is that he's changed that about it, and I haven't even read the comics, but I already like this idea because it emphasizes how Clark was raised by a couple in Kansas. Yeah. He wasn't raised by his real biological parents who are aliens.
There's not a single. That's also really cool. There's not a single shot of him making it to Earth. It starts with him being, I think he's like 10 or something.
And that's really
And it's
great.
him on the farm.
That's really great because as a kid, he would not have, because I mean, he landed on Earth when he was a baby. Yeah. He would not have any, as a kid, you wouldn't have any memories of your parents before you were about, let's say, 3 or 4. You don't remember anything before that age, really. So it's really cool that they do that because essentially he would just be a regular all-American kid being raised on a farm.
And he always, I believe, one of his best friends who finds out about it, Peter, he always refers to Clark as the American or the alien. The American alien.
The American alien.
Which is why the issues are called
that. That's great.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil it anymore. I just want to say you got to read this. It's really good. It's really different from anything you've read before. Yeah, so just read it. Have fun. Cool. What have you been reading?
I have been reading, I've continued reading Saga, and I've also branched out a little bit. I've read...
How many issues are you in now?
Saga, I'm halfway through volume 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's happened?
What's happened? Marco and Alana have had a huge fight, and kind of.
Was this when she's in the drama?
She's in the she's on this it's called the circuit. And
she's on drugs.
Yeah, she's on drugs called Fade Away.
Yeah.
And
Great name, I love it.
Marco
I love the name.
meets this woman who's a single mom. Well, she's not actually a single mom. Her husband's away on business a lot.
Yeah.
And
they're getting it on.
They
close,
don't
really close though.
Because Marco can't.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
And, but anyway, Alana freaks out.
Emotionally though.
Emotionally, there's a lot going on. Yeah, and I mean,
he's cheating on her emotionally.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because she's always gone. She doesn't want to involve him in her life.
She's on drugs. She's
on drugs. She's keeping that a secret. So he finds out about that, and they have this huge blowout. And she wants to know who this woman is, and he wants to know how long she's been doing drugs, and if she's ever been on drugs in front of their child. And there's this whole thing. She kicks him out of the rocket ship and sends him on his way. And while he's off trying to, figure out his life and what he should do, they back home they get attacked. By this guy, shoot, I forget what his name is, but he killed Robot Prince's wife and stole and kidnapped his baby.
Oh wait, who is this guy again? Oh, he's the rebel. He's
a
rebel.
He's like a rebel dude, and he's a robot.
I forgot how much I love this guy.
It's so great.
He's so badass.
He takes down like a whole. He works in the palace as a janitor. He kills all the guards while they were watching their soap opera or whatever, right? And then he kills the princess and steals her baby.
Oh, that was insane.
And he takes off.
Yeah.
He takes off and goes on a mission to basically, get rid of, end the war. He basically, wants to join up with the rebellion and use the baby prince, as leverage. To stop the war, and it's totally intense, and he barges into the rocket ship and then discovers Hazel, who is half and half, right? So there's another pawn basically for him. So that's what. But the interesting thing about him is, even though he's a robot, and even though that he's killed all these people, he will not hurt
innocent. Oh, yeah.
He will not hurt kids.
Yeah.
So Hazel and this baby, tiny little prince baby, they are completely safe in his arms. And it's really interesting because, artistically speaking, it's really interesting what they do, because they have him distract the kids whenever he's killing people.
No way.
He'll go, keep your eyes on me. And on his screen, he'll have, and only in black and white, because he's a commoner and he's not royalty. Royalty are the only ones that have color picture.
HD motherfuckers.
Seriously. So in black and white, he'll have kids shows playing to keep them distracted while he's slaughtering these people.
So how does he do it again? Does he turn his face then?
Well, he just has the screen on, and he goes, keep your eyes on me, Hazel, or keep your eyes on me, baby, and he just starts killing people. And he shoots them, right? His whole thing is that he mainly shoots people. Yeah, he mainly shoots. Okay. But it's pretty,
I forgot that, because I'm so far. I'm at issue 33 or 34. Yeah, 34. I just read 34 this week. I love it. It's going places that I'm really enjoying. Hazel, can talk at this point, just so you know.
Also, Alana has, while she was on the circuit, so she was on set, she plays a character named, I think it's Zipper or Zips or something like that. And because she's on drugs, she forgot her line and replaced it with a line from John Heist's, or Mr. Heist's book.
Oh, man's gonna get her to be tracked down.
I know. And so she comes off set, and Yuma says, what the fuck, or what the hell, were you thinking? And she goes,
you know what? I've cursed 3 times now.
Yeah, I know.
Screw it. We'll try next time.
She says, she's, Alana, she's on drugs. So she's like, don't worry about it. Nobody reads those books anyway. Meanwhile, you see...
The Will? Isn't the Will reading them now?
No.
Or
The
somebody
Will
else?
is still incapacitated.
Oh, shit, he is.
And that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn, who is actually Marco's ex.
Yeah.
And the little girl, slave girl. I'm just going to keep calling her slave girl because I can't remember her real name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, a lot of names.
Her and slave girl and the lion cat are trying to find a cure to help the Will. That's a whole other thing going on. But while Alana made this, she made this reference to this book that apparently nobody reads, but on another planet, you see the journalist guy and his gay lover. Yeah. The journalist guy takes off his helmet because it's a virtual reality helmet to watch TV. That's how
VR is real this year, people.
It is, apparently. I know, that's crazy. That's a whole other thing.
Well, no, apparently, yes, but I know that PlayStation VR, we can just veer off quickly. PlayStation. Yeah. So their VR's price is $399 US dollars.
That's crazy.
And then the HTC Vive is $800, which is a lot more. I'm just saying. Think about that. That's a lot more, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then the HTC Vive, and then the Oculus Rift is around like $600 or $700.
Yeah, but it was you who told me that basically PlayStation, what they're doing is, well, you don't know for sure, but it's highly likely that they're putting this out there at a loss.
So apparently, Shuhei Yoshida, who is the president of Sony Worldwide Entertainment, and he said that they're making profit. Oh. They just want to let people know they're making profit, which is a shot in the face for HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, who said, we have to sell it at $600 and $800, or else we're not making profit. And then PlayStation comes out and says, hey, guess what? We're making profit, and you guys say you're not making profit? You're barely making profit with your... So PlayStation looks really good right now.
Plus, didn't you say that they have a whole bunch of people on board to make a crap ton of video games?
Yeah, I think 230 developers are making video games. 50 of their games will come out this year, before the end of the year. And their VR product is only coming out in October. Huh. So from October until 2017, they're bringing out 50 games.
That's insane.
That's a lot of games.
That's insane. As opposed to the other VR.
I believe HTC Vive said they have 30 or something. Yeah. Yeah. So,
that's crazy. Yeah. And I mean that's so great. Yeah. It's awesome. You know, the next generation is here.
Yeah, it is. It is
crazy.
I gotta save up. I gotta save up for VR. Now. Yeah, I gotta save up for him.
But anyway, what were we talking
about? So he took off his VR.
Yes, he takes
and he
it off.
Figured it out.
And he figures it out. He's like, oh my god, they're on the circuit. I figured it out. And the gay lover guy is like, nah, it's probably nothing. He's like, no, we should check this out. And so, that's kind of where I am now. That's pretty much where I am now. I still need to finish Volume 5 because my work has gotten crazy busy.
Yeah. Apparently. That was some egg salad in my water from yesterday.
Ew, that's
disgusting.
That's disgusting.
At least it wasn't an ant or something. I'm kind of happy.
Has that been happening to you a lot recently?
No, ladybugs all over the place.
Yeah.
Ladybugs.
And then what else have I been reading? I've been reading Aquaman. And
who wrote it?
Oh, shoot,
is it Peter Ware or something?
It's one of the new ones.
Is he called Peter? I was just reading that a guy
You'd have to look it up for me.
A guy called Peter or something made Aquaman
It's from the new 52.
So that's this year. Because apparently in the 90s, that's the first issue of Aquaman, or in the 80s. And this one writer made Aquaman an interesting character.
He is,
he's still interesting in New 52. New 52 is recent though, right?
I think so. New 52 is basically, from what I understand, I'm not sure, I'm not entirely sure because I'm no expert. From what I understand is New 52 is basically like the starting zone for a lot of new artists and new writers as they carry on the, whatever character they've been assigned to, basically. Whatever character they've been given the rights to work with. Because I know that there's a New 52 Wonder Woman, and there's there's all these they fall in the range of New 52. So if you're reading comic books, so I'm reading Aquaman, New 52, and he is freaking great. Yeah, it's awesome. I had no idea that Aquaman was so badass. Yeah, right. Yeah. You learn all these things.
So you're a little more looking forward to Jason Momoa's rendering. Not at all. Okay.
No, not at all. And the reason is the reason is very simply is that Jason Momoa, as much as I like him, and I do,
I still think he's the easy choice.
I'm not hating on him. Well,
it's just, hey, let's get a big rugged guy to be Aquaman.
Yeah, no, and literally that's what it is.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, he's the easy choice if you think in Hollywood terms.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm thinking more along the lines of staying true to the character and what the character has always looked like and should kind of look like. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, renew it and change it up the way they like to do. The way they recently have been liking to do, and that's fine. But how much more awesome would it have been if they could cast someone like, I don't know, like Zac Efron?
I would have loved that.
Like Zac Efron as Aquaman would have made total sense.
And gay. That would have made my day.
Yeah, well, just so you know, in Aquaman New 52, he's not gay. He actually has a girlfriend who is, like, I guess she's kind of like an aqua woman, but she's
it'd just
more
be
like
a great
mermaid.
message to the LGBT community.
Yeah, it would. It would be great, and it would be very fun to see Zac Efron.
And I can see them weaving it in naturally. That's That's why.
For sure.
Because water means gay, right? No, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I something in my mind says it would work.
I think that a lot of it is that people, they hear about Aquaman and they go, "Oh, Aquaman's lame. All he can do is like talk to fish."
Yeah.
That's not even
that's
true.
The joke.
That's not even
joke.
And what I love about Aquaman New 52 is that right from the beginning they address that.
No, that's
like
good.
They have this fan.
Tell me what it is.
So basically the way that they've set it up is that Aquaman is established as a superhero. So people know about him, right? In the town where he lives, people have heard about
He's in
Aquaman.
a town.
He lives in a town, yes.
Yeah.
He lives in a small town that's like on the coast.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, right? But he can basically jump right in the sea.
Is it Newfoundland? No.
Well, you could use Newfoundland.
I was just thinking that would be awesome.
As a place to shoot, would be great.
Oh,
right?
true. Yeah.
It'd be beautiful, and it's that kind of a place. Like it's right on the coast. It's got
like
these
mountains,
cliffs,
okay,
and
cool.
and it's right on the sea. And
I just want to watch it. I just want to read it to see the artwork. Actually.
Yeah, he lives in a lighthouse, and
the lighthouse.
Yeah, the reason that he has superpowers
it.
is because his mother was like a princess or a queen of Atlantica.
Okay.
Or Atlantis rather, and
has that always? Do you know if that's always been the case, or they just chose that this time? I don't know.
I would have to look it up to know if that's always been the case. But for this one, his father is a human. His mother was from Atlantis, and she's royalty.
Yeah.
So that makes him the next ruler of Atlantis. And what's great is they introduce that part of it, and then they veer away from it because they're like, this is basically what happened in his past. And then they veer away from it because they're like, we'll get back to that kind of a thing. And that's what I thought was really smart. I was like, don't make it an origin story right off the bat.
Yeah.
From the beginning, they kind of introduce it, and then they go, but this is what's happening right now.
I also feel like the new 52 of Aquaman may not bring in that much of a larger viewership rather than just have people that are already interested in come back to Aquaman.
Maybe
who knows?
I can't speak for the fan base because I'm new to it.
Yeah.
So
and you're also you're not doing fan art every day of Aquaman.
No,
you're
exactly.
not that bad.
No, well, I mean, I would.
Yeah. It would actually be interesting.
He's pretty cool.
Artwork.
He's actually very cool, and I like that they brought it back to this. Is
honestly, you should now do a Zac Efron Aquaman.
I should. I really should. That
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Because and I love that they play into in the comic books. They're playing into the humor of it. They're addressing the issues that people used to have with Aquaman, right? The whole that he, all he does is talk to fish. Well, I think it's in the very first volume where one of the fans, you know what I mean? Like he goes to he's a regular at a diner because he grew up in this town, right?
Somebody that looks up to him.
Yeah, so town. Some guy comes up to him and is like, so is it true that you talk to fish, right? And he's like, no. He's like, fish are not sentient beings. That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. And he flat out just is like...
That's almost literally what he said.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like...
But does he explain that he can mentally communicate with them, or what?
He can command them.
Okay, yeah.
There's a difference, right? He can command them to do stuff.
Yeah.
But the only creatures that possibly he could communicate with, actually talk to, are dolphins.
Okay, my next...
the only ones that are smart enough.
Oh, yeah. My next question as that fan, if I were that fan, I would say, so can you talk to sharks? But did he ask something like that? No?
No,
okay.
No, they
But
don't.
he probably could command them.
He can, exactly. So he can command underwater creatures. What's more interesting is that he actually pretty badass. He's got a little bit of super strength, and the suit that he wears isn't just, like, it's not just like a scuba suit. It's actually made out of some kind of, like, it's armor, and it's from Atlantis, and it's it looks like fish scales.
Yeah.
But it's the scales themselves. Each scale is made out of an it's made of this crazy armor plated whatever. And it's very cool. Yeah. Because he can fight
like unobtainium in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he can fight things both underwater and on the surface. Okay. Which is really interesting because when he comes on the surface, the cops are like, "What the hell are you doing, Aquaman?" And he's like, "Well, aren't you happy I was here? Because otherwise you'd be dead, right?" Yeah. It's really good. It's really good, and he's way more... Is he?
I guess every superhero is to a certain extent. Is he witty, or is he more ground?
A little witty.
Is he more stoic?
But he's very stoic.
Okay, yeah.
Very stoic, and a lot of it comes from people having this complete misunderstanding about who Aquaman is, and I love that.
So he wants to come and be like, and just be quiet and be like, "This is."
He just wants to, he just wants to do his part and serve, humanity, and also help, the environment. Like, it's a lot of it is about the underwater stuff going on and how certain species are going extinct, and I'm only about 5 volumes in, but it's really interesting because the first villain, I put that in
parentheses
because it's not quite a villain, it's an underwater creature. Like, it's a whole nest of underwater creatures, and they're monsters, and they eat people. Pretty much, they like came onto land and they eat people. But Aquaman is the one who realizes that there are species that has been living under the water for all these centuries, and something opened up, and now they're coming up to because they're out of sustenance. They have nothing to live off of anymore, so they're coming up to the surface. And he's the first to realize that, and the first to try and find a way to communicate with him so that he can say, it's not that I don't want to kill you. I just want to make it clear you can't eat humans, right? Kind of a thing. Like, and I mean, and it's like this whole internal struggle thing, and I like that about him. I like that they have a superhero who's addressing environmental issues in a way that's clever and smart, and they're masking it behind, monsters, again, in parentheses, monsters, because...
And superhero fights and all that stuff.
And they've got all the cool stuff going on. And he's got a badass girlfriend who's like a mermaid, and she can control water, and she's really cool. But it's very good.
I'm actually now interested to read.
Yeah.
So have you been reading more of I, Vampire?
No, I have read 1602 though, but yeah.
I gotta say, I, Vampire, it was great. It was superb. I was so freaking into it. I couldn't have been more into it. And then I forget which issue it was, but one issue then says, starts going off on all these events that I don't know about. And they say, well, you have to read Justice League Dark.
What?
And you have to read all the issues of Justice League Dark to understand what's happening now in I, Vampire. And I'm like, well, let's see if I can just read, without reading Justice League Dark.
And you can't.
And I can't. I don't know what's going on anymore. All these people that are established in another universe are coming into it that I don't know about, that are supposed to... I'm so out of it now.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's really disappointing.
And I mean, I'll say Batman... comes into it, but he's kind of introduced in
Batman is in it?
Yeah, they go to Gotham.
Huh.
Yeah, they go to Gotham. Because Mary Queen of Blood, right, who is his girlfriend who goes against him, she decides to go to Gotham. And she says, hey, come here if you want to stop me. Because she's turning everybody into vampires, right?
Okay.
So she goes there. And he's trying to stop her with 2 of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so... he gets there, and of course, Batman is thinking, like, who the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And anyways, Andrew Bennett, when he first gets caught by Batman, he does his disappear thing. And Batman is just like, what? He's never seen anything like that. He's like, what did this? Like, he had him, like, stoked against the wall, and then he just disappears and goes on the other side and then gets Batman.
Oh my god, that's
great. It's so great.
That's great. Like, in a way, that's a fantastic way to, like, to tie in to other characters within the universe, and at the same time introduce Batman to the idea of magic, because I mean the vampires aren't they're supernatural creatures. They're not human.
And God knows, in the canon of Batman, he might have been introduced before.
You don't know, but it's a great way though to bring in that character.
Perfect. Batman introduction was amazing, and then this whole Justice League Dark thing comes in, and all these extra Justice League characters come in, and I have no. It's just they come in for reasons that I have no understanding of their justification for being there. I just have no idea.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I know.
That's too bad.
I'm debating, but I don't really want to leave.
So I started reading I, Vampire first, and then I recommended it to Aleksei.
And then I just
thought
read through it.
It's just amazing, right? And the reason I stopped reading it after the second volume is because I got distracted, and I started reading a comic book called 1602.
Yeah.
Which you should look up. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
Neil Gaiman.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like if and it's also one of those things where you can just flat out tell, for even people who are total laymen's, you don't like art, you don't follow art or anything like that, you can tell from one issue to the next that they're drawn by different people.
Oh, but they did.
Yeah, and it's, oh my God, it's beautiful. It's this really smart way and it's X-Men is Marvel, right? Yeah, it's the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
But it's set back in 1602.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of...
How many issues? Very few amounts, though. I remember you saying there's only
limited.
a few.
It's a limited... It's one of those things that they just did a little... They did a little blur, basically, like a little bubble universe within the universe, kind of a thing. And
they probably have better names for it.
It's so smart. They've incorporated Shakespeare and Faust and Christopher Marlowe and all these writers back then who were a huge... major cultural influence within their just period. They in the way
that you could be, meaning only for the people who could afford.
To the extent that you could be, but the thing is, Shakespeare was for the people.
Yeah,
and so was Marlowe and like a lot of these other guys, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really great because it takes.
Do you see Shakespeare? Written. He's there. He's a. Is he?
Yes, he's a character. He is a character. Is
he an X-Men?
No, I wish.
But he's he's an interesting character.
He's a very interesting character, and so is Christopher Marlowe. And the works of Faust, I haven't seen if Faust is actually in it yet, but the works of Faust play a huge part in it because the main character, she's like this witch hunter, and she's got an assistant, or whatever. So they're like, basically, it's like those old stories where you'll have the knight and you have a storyteller.
For example, her assistant is her assistant supposed to be an X-Man?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they are fighting the mutations.
Okay.
You see, they're fighting the witches who are basically mutants, right? Yeah. And it's great because you get introduced to these characters who seem kind of familiar, but they're not called the same thing. So, like, for example, you get introduced to a girl who's trapped in a tower, quite literally. She's a maiden trapped in a tower by her parents.
That's funny.
Because she's gone insane, and they think that she's possessed by this creature.
Who can do what?
She sort of is possessed. Now, here's the thing.
Oh, wow.
She sought out the evil mother, witch, whatever, and made a deal with her to get powers, right? Because she wanted to relinquish her old gift, which was that whenever she touched someone, she brought death onto them.
Okay, cool, yeah.
It's rogue, right?
Cool,
and it's so great because you get...
So which power did she then choose?
She it's not that she gets to, this is the thing,
which one did she get?
Choose.
Which did she receive?
Turn into, like, basically what happens is if she really lets it take over her body, she will turn into a monster.
Oh, cool.
And that's true for all of these characters that they're basically chasing down, and the reason that they're chasing them down, so Rogue is one of those examples. She had abilities. She has these magical properties that would classify her as a witch in this world. But Rogue is a little different where she didn't like her abilities. Obviously, it's hard to deal with. People die if she touches them. Yeah. So she traded them in. She communicated with the mother, and she traded them in for other abilities. She basically just wanted to get rid of her abilities, and the mother was like, that's fine, and I will control you for the rest of your life, and I will get rid of your old powers. Right? So she agrees to that. Basically, she's going mad because she's fighting this inner evil. Yeah. While at the same time, she knows that she has to put up with it because she doesn't want her old power back, right? And so it's really cool because the main character then, the witch hunter, stumbles upon her, and she's got her assistant with her, who is also, it's hinted at, her lesbian lover, kind of a thing. So it's really interesting. It's very, very interesting. The way that it plays out and the way that these new monsters.
Have you read all of the issues for it?
No, I haven't. I'm not done yet.
Is it more than a dozen?
I think altogether, there's probably like 13.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good number.
Yeah. So, and it's really interesting because they use the mythology of Marvel with the mutants and stuff going on, but then they blended it with the mythology of Shakespeare and of Faust and Christopher Marlowe, and it's really, really smart the way they blended the typical comic book hero with the 16th century idea of what a hero is, right? Because, I mean, she's a female protagonist. In the 16th century, that didn't really happen. I mean, knights were men, and they went and saved the princess, who's a girl, and she's a damsel in distress, right? So it's really cool because they flip that on its back, but at the same time, they're drawing from it and using it to fuel this story. It's just really, really good.
And it was written by Neil Gaiman, wasn't it?
I can't say for sure. I know Neil Gaiman was involved.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure whether he was just the creator, like he came up with the whole world and the universe, or if he actually physically wrote most of it. I'm not entirely sure. Because I know that a lot of people were involved. Like, if you read the front of it, you can see that there's a lot of artists and a lot of writers who are working on it.
Yeah. And then I just want to quickly talk about what I read last week. It was Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Yeah, you were saying,
And it's all about the Greek mythology. And it's superb. It's really, really impressive what he does to bring these characters.
I have no doubt.
Bring these characters to life, and no matter how much I read about them, it always seems somewhat confusing because there's so many gods, and they're all doing their own thing, and the way that
as the gods did,
and the tricks they play on each other that are both extremely mean and in other ways just funny. You've got to read it because I don't know, you always like to reference or talk about them.
Does it follow the true mythology? Like, is it?
I believe it does. Mythology? Yeah. It does. It does follow.
Is it Greek mythology or Roman or Egyptian? Or
I believe it's Greek. Yeah.
Greek.
Yeah,
okay,
but you
cool.
should. Maybe he just takes the characters, and he just has them in certain situations that he thought they would be in.
Yeah, even if he did that, even if he took it and did his own interpretation of what they... It would be great, based on... And I'm basing that on what I've read of 1602. Because, it's amazing. It's clearly... It's this idea that just formed so beautifully on paper. It really is. It's incredible.
Yeah, so I would say, because you haven't read it yet, I would say read it.
Yeah,
and for anybody else,
For sure I will. Something that you haven't read that I think you should read is The Summer of the Ubume.
I'm going to try and read that,
Written by Natsuhiko Kyogoku,
which
I just finished. This book is a little beat up because it's been going in and out of my bag. This book... It's so interesting. It's written originally in Japanese. You can tell it's written originally in Japanese and translated because it takes a while for you to get into it, and you can tell that originally the way it was written, it was probably very poetic in its original language, Japanese. So the main character is a character called Sekiguchi.
Okay. And there is a main character.
Yes, there is a main character. His name is Sekiguchi, and he's a writer, journalist. He's like a freelance writer. And basically, he stumbles upon a story about a woman who's been pregnant for 20 months.
Okay, that's already uncanny.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, most women carry from 9 to 10 months, right? This woman
and 10 months is not good.
10 months, that's within, regular. You can be past due. You know what I mean? You can go past your due date. But anyway, the interesting about this story is that he stumbles upon this story accidentally.
This is fiction.
It's fiction.
Okay, good.
Well, yeah. I mean, you hope. You hope it's fiction. The way it reads is really interesting because it's written from the perspective of this journalist. Yeah. It's first-person narrative.
Okay.
And one of the other characters that's essential in the story is his friend called Kyogoku,
Okay.
who is a bookseller. He's really eccentric. He's a really strange guy. He has a bookshop. It's for antique texts, but he doesn't buy a book unless he himself is interested in reading it, and he very rarely gets people actually buying his books. So it's really funny because you think, oh, how does this guy even support himself?
Yeah.
But, you know, he just
does.
He just does.
Yeah.
He's a very eccentric guy, and he's not just a bookseller. He's also a priest.
Okay.
Well, you know, in different religions, and it's really
What?
interesting. And it's very interesting because this
So he'll
book,
just quote whatever he wants to quote.
But he's
Is he very spiritual or what?
No, he's very okay. See, that's
Academic,
where it's
or...
very strange. You think he would be a very spiritual guy?
Yeah.
He's an academic.
Okay.
Through and through, he's an academic, which is very interesting because he'll talk about spirits, and then he'll so like this guy Sekiguchi goes to him because he has the story and he wants to talk to him about it. He's like, this woman apparently has been pregnant for 20 months. You know, what the hell is going on? I don't get it, and blah, blah, blah. Do you have any theories? So Kyogoku says, well, yeah, there's this spirit.
Oh,
and this
man, I
spirit,
thought you were about to
spirit.
ask me. I was like, I haven't read a goddamn word.
No. So he asks Kyogoku, right?
Yeah,
and Kyogoku goes, well, there's a lot of theories. There's such and such spirit, and there's this one who does that, and there's this spirit who kidnaps babies, and then, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because while you're learning about Japanese folklore, mythology, folklore, you know, all these things that are so ingrained in that culture and ingrained in that generation because it's set just after the Second World War.
Okay,
So there's a lot of their ancient mythologies that are carrying on into this generation that they still believe in.
Yeah.
And yet, on the other hand, they are making advances in science and technology and psychology that they had no idea. And so it's really interesting because Kyogoku goes from saying like, oh, well, there's this spirit who could do this. But, you know, it's probably highly unlikely, and it's probably a mixture of our cultural background and the fact of the war. And so he will explain something about a spirit, and then he will scientifically explain why people experience things the way they do. And why people have observed this spirit. And he will break it down psychologically and scientifically explain why people have been observing this spirit for the past decade.
Why they think.
So it's really cool because it's his philosophy, and it's philosophy in general, explaining why people see spirits. And why people think they've seen a ghost, why people think that their baby was kidnapped by this crazy whatever, right? So it's really interesting. So as Sekiguchi investigates, so he takes on the story then, right?
Yeah.
He takes it on, and he goes and tries to figure out what's happening to this woman, but instead of it being about her pregnancy, it turns into, why did her husband disappear? How did he disappear? Because before she was pregnant, or before she realized she was pregnant, she had this huge fight with her husband, and he locked himself in a room that has no other exit. There's a door that goes to another room.
He locked himself.
He locked himself in a room.
Shit.
So there's only one lock on this door, and it's from the inside. So he locked himself in.
Yeah.
Right? There is another door that goes to another room.
Yeah.
In that small, it's a library.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And within the library, there's a door that goes to another room. But that door is also locked from the inside, from the other room. So there's no way out of this room. Yet the husband somehow mysteriously, poof, disappeared.
Okay.
So Sekiguchi teams up with his friend Enokizo, who's a private detective, and they try to figure it out. And it's a horror that turns into a
thriller,
murder mystery that turns into a horror again, and then blows your mind at the end.
Okay.
I'm not giving anything away. And it's so great because the way it's written is very philosophical, and yet you're trying to figure out what happened.
What happened? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna read it.
It's really good.
I want to end this by talking about a technology that I heard about, and I can't believe this exists.
Okay.
So this was kickstarted quite a while ago, and it's called, or at least the company is called Here.
Okay.
And what they created are these little earplugs, Keshia.
Alright.
And what these earplugs do is they filter out sound.
Okay.
So say you're in a restaurant, you can filter out all the background sound. and all the clinking and clanking and other people having conversations, so that you are only hearing the conversation you're having with the person next to you. Say you're in a say you go to a say you go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hear the people behind you or next to you.
I see where this is going.
Okay? You put them on and you filter out everything but the movie.
Uh-huh.
If you go to a concert and you're too close to one of the speakers, you can make the sound equal to that if you were in the middle, and it's not too loud for you. So they want you to wear these things are made.
It's a sound editor in earphones.
Yeah, something like that. But there's no latency on it, so you hear everything as it comes.
Real time.
Yeah,
okay.
Real time. And you can change, so you can make people sound like they have an echo. You can make people sound like they're drunk, which to me kind of sounds great, because there's tons of times where you're talking to people and they're so boring in the way they speak, so monotonous, and you can just change them. You can literally change them. Yeah, I freaking love it. It's only like $250.
Only $250.
Dude, this is new technology.
I get where you're coming from. It's very interesting.
I want it.
But
I want it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I just want to let you know.
The world is a changing, people.
But it's amazing. I just love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hope I get him sometime. So yeah, we can end it here.
All right.
I think we're good to end. Yeah. I'm gonna play this goddamn song. End it.
He's loving the song. You better hurry up, because somebody's coming up the stairs.
Let me stop it. All right, thanks everybody for listening. This was it for episode 2, technically.
Technically, yeah.
Because I introduced the other one as Digital Radio Comic Show, Comic Radio Show. So this is still the Digital Radio Smashin Show, episode 2. Thank you for being here. My name is Aleksei and Keshia. You can find me at Flamadian and see all my writing from there. Keshia, where can they find you?
I'm Keshia. You can find me on DeviantArt at kvanhe. Come and check us out.
Great to have you around. We hope to see you back. Here's a little lovely music to end it with.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.